Welcome back to the Milwaukee Market Updates. We're covering real estate news and data and breaking it down to help you understand how it impacts your real estate decisions. Teaser, will Zillow stop listing your home on their website?
We'll find out what to take away this episode. How does the April Milwaukee housing data compare to the rest of the U.S.? And also, how does the North Shore burbs compare to the Wauwatosa and West Allis? Different markets, but some similar data. Yeah. What are some of the best outdoor activities to do in Milwaukee? It's heating up. And also, is Ty okay living in a van the rest of his life?
You'll only know if you listen to the end, but we're here to give you the info you need to make the right decisions regarding your real estate. Should I buy a home now? Should I be selling? Is the housing market about to crash? Are these headlines I'm reading, content I'm seeing on social media true or even relevant to me? If you're new to the show or returning because you found value in the previous episodes, it would mean the world to us if you could please take a second to subscribe, specifically out there on your favorite podcast listener. You can follow us at Horizon Homes MKE on Instagram and shoot us a DM, or visit us at our website, revamp, coming soon, homewithhorizon.com. With that, I'm Ty.
I'm Nick.
With Compass, your local real estate experts.
Ty, what's going on, man? How we doing, dude?
Doing all right. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Weather's shifting.
It's actually nice. I've been golfing a lot this week, and I think this is the first time this week I was able to be outside in Milwaukee in a short sleeve t-shirt.
Yeah, you crack 100?
Come on. Cracked 100. I do that in my sleep.
I can only dream.
Do that in my sleep. You'll get there. You got the power to get there. All right, so kicking us off here, not really real estate related, but I think it's very topical if you're in Milwaukee. For those of you that maybe casually follow the news, there's been a boat that has been abandoned and crashed on shore in Lake Michigan, and it's been there for 7 months. We've named this boat Deep Thought, and I don't know how close you followed this story or not followed it, but it's kind of become a local Milwaukee phenomenon. It has its own Google page, its own Google location where you could type this in on a map. It has hundreds of 5-star reviews. I've seen videos of people that go there, hang out. Someone did like a DJ set on this boat with like a little beachfront people hanging out and partying essentially. It's all graffitied over, but it's officially been removed. Okay. And the city finally stepped in, pulled the abandoned boat out of Lake Michigan. So it's kind of a sad day. I think, Milwaukee's got some local celebrities. We've got the Milwaukee. We've got the man that tans on Bradford Beach with his weird tanning contraption. And we had a boat, and now
no more deep thoughts.
No more deep thoughts, man. So kind of a sad day for Milwaukee. It's been fun following that story. I think it is good to get that out of here.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, now pivoting a little bit more over to a real estate specific article, not just that here in Milwaukee, but headline is Zillow to stop showing certain home listings in late May under their new listing policy. What?
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
There's been, I would say, a big shakeup in the last couple of weeks here with clear cooperation, kind of a war starting between Zillow brokerages and the MLS. We're not going to dive into necessarily our opinions on this, but more just kind of provide
what the facts are.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of kick us off here, man.
Yeah. So essentially, starting, early this month, any property listings that were publicly marketed to consumers, but not listed on their local MLS within one business day will not appear on Zillow. Clear cooperation essentially says if you publicly market a listing, that could be Facebook, that could be sending out
a sign in the ground,
any sort of way that you can publicly market. That's not just verbally talking about it. It needs to be entered into the multiple listing service, and therefore, since the multiple listing service shares with a lot of sites, not just Zillow, but Compass.com, Realtor.com, a lot of other sites that we use, those syndications get access to listings once they pop in there. Essentially, as we look about why might Zillow have an issue with this, it's because they make money off of people coming to their sites, clicking on their listings, and being connected with a realtor who's not the listing agent, but is a agent who's paying money for those, they call them connections.
Yeah, and I think it's the whole reason the MLS exists is to create clear cooperation where any listing is available to publicly be seen.
Yeah.
Whether that's right or wrong, we can chat about that later. And
Yeah.
maybe I don't think it's a good time for us to kind of discuss our opinions on that, I'd say. But like I saw a post yesterday scrolling through Instagram. It was a screenshot that basically said Zillow won't show all homes anymore. And people were sounding off in the comments. And to me, it's about like Zillow makes money from listings.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are brokerages, Facebook groups, people selling their homes for sale by owner with yard signs, that Zillow isn't capturing that data, it affects Zillow negatively.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest impact that Zillow is seeing is there's brokerages that have exclusive listings that are shared within their own brokerage that Zillow doesn't have access to. The brokerage's argument is basically it's up to the consumer to decide, the seller to decide how they want to sell their house, and they should have the choice how it gets sold. Zillow sees this as a threat, essentially, that we're not getting that data. So what we're going to do is if you're not listing this in the MLS within a day, we're not going to show your home ever on Zillow as a kind of like a combat to that. And I think
doesn't every single seller wants to be on the MLS, right?
I mean, that's the thing. It's like the MLS, some sellers, yes, some sellers want all the eyeballs. Some sellers
the traffic, everybody's looking there. It goes to like whether you're using an agent and it's, through MLS, or if you're using Zillow, Compass.com, whatever else to search, like, yes, you're going to get the most eyeball traffic, the most foot traffic from that. But there's also some negatives of putting your house out there on the market right away as well, which includes one of the stats that pretty much all MLSs track is how long has it been on the market? Has there been any price drops? As savvy buyers know, the longer a home sits, maybe the less desirable it is, and the more negotiating you can have. So there's a pro con, benefits and drawbacks of listing on the MLS. Usually, a lot of people are like, yeah, I list my home, it's beautiful, it's going to go right away. Well, what if it doesn't? Those are like the negative downsides that really haven't been discussed the last, let's call it 5 years in a market where days on market are 20 days or less.
Yeah, and I think too, like some sellers don't necessarily want all the eyeballs, knowing that their home is for sale, and it's like there's limited options sellers have to choose from when it comes to how to list your home for sale or how to sell your house in general. And I think this hurts the consumer the most, which I think is what gets missed in all of this, is that like Zillow is punishing private networks of people that want to sell their home. Typically, they want to sell their own home through a private network, whether it's their community, their friends, their family, or their realtor that has a private community, because the seller's making a choice to do so. And Zillow is basically saying, we're going to punish you for that. And I think it's the consumer at the end of the day. You don't
own the listing, we do.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the consumer that's getting punished from this at the end of the day, which I think is what hurts the most. Like reading through this, it says if you want to just put a sign in your yard as a for sale by owner, you can't post that on Zillow, which is like really unfortunate, because like it just limits the options sellers have. And it's not like it's really, in my opinion, annoying that this is all happening. It hasn't been talked about a lot, and unless you're like in the real estate space, I don't think it's something that most people are aware of or like really seeing very often. Apparently this is going to start at the end of May. Yep. So like a couple of weeks here, we'll see if this actually happens or not.
The policy is in place. There's a learning period that has been granted, and it's going to start getting enforced as we get to the end of the month.
And I think a lot of this also just comes down to following the money. It's all about money at the end of the day, whether it's Zillow, realtors, Compasses, the MLS, the NAR, it all comes down to following the money. Zillow's a publicly traded company with their shareholders' best interests in mind. And that's, I think, the reason why they're doing this is there's a threat to them. And I think it's also being spun as this is the most pro-consumer way to do it, the most pro-seller option way to do it, when if a seller wants to have options, that means they shouldn't be punished for trying to sell their home in a different way that it's always been done.
And it's a play about money, right? Follow the money. And it's kind of hurting a good thing, which is like having a central database of listings is actually a unique thing only to North America. You go to Europe, you go to other countries, that doesn't exist. So you have to go to 10 different websites, and you almost have to, as a buyer, use a real estate agent because they're the only one who has access to all these different sites or can even teach you what if we miss something. Versus here, it's like most of the listings are captured in one spot,
Yeah.
or via a realtor. Like you have like 2 spots to go, and that complexity just actually hurts the buyer side consumer as well.
Yeah, agreed. It's also interesting that homes are the only thing that's bought and sold like that. Like if you're buying a car, there's no like one database for cars.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the exact experience that other countries have for buying a home. Is you've got 50 plus websites you could go to, and they're cross listed, and sometimes the information is different. The price could be different on different websites. Yeah, I mean the quality of data that we get. Speaking of data, next thing, it's incredible, and that's the next thing we got here. What do you got next?
So yeah, we'll track this story with what happens from this. I think it's kind of a moving target with Zillow. But yeah, we'll keep you guys updated with how this comes along. Yeah, so to your favorite part of the podcast, let's get into some data.
That's right.
And little data dive.
And thank you, Zillow, for some really good data.
Yeah, honestly, yes. Thank you, Zillow, for great data, or data, as you put it.
Data.
Yeah, tomatoes, potatoes, potatoes. So we've talked a lot about how we're seeing the U.S. housing market as a whole starting to shift. Zillow came out with their forecast, and they're expecting price drops around 0.6% compared to last year of up 2%. They've got a pretty cool map that is of the entire United States. There's different bubbles over the different metros in the US. And if they're red, it's a seller's market. If they're blue, it's a buyer's market. And we're looking at this map from February 2022.
Size of the bubbles, which is really nice, is how big the populations are. So you can see how much having a really hot seller's market in a really large metropolitan area can be swinging the stats. It's the visual of exactly what we talk about.
Yeah, love that. And we look in February 2022. Everything is red.
It's all red.
I don't see a single. They've got like orange,
chickenpox.
They've got purple. They've got like a light blue and like a deep blue. There's a couple orange ones, and then everything else is red, which is the most hottest seller's market. Mm-hmm. And then let's look now to 2025. And it's kind of 50-50, where we see a lot of magenta. We still see some red markets, some orange markets, but like we're seeing a lot of coolness happening, especially in the Southeast.
Yeah. Like literally, if you draw a line across like the bottom of Missouri and like all the way across, like if you're just following the globe south of there, it's like a very clear line. There's a little bit of blue trickling up into like the Rust Belt, as people would call it, or into the the west part of the east kind of suburbs. But yeah, overall, there's a lot of blue speckled into this.
If we're going to put this into like college conference terms, like the SEC right here is very, very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool, which is not what we see in sports.
No.
So maybe there's a correlation there. The hotter the sports.
I mean, the Big Ten did get pretty big.
True. And some of these Big Ten markets are doing okay.
Yeah, definitely.
But so it's interesting to see because the Southeast is it's cooling down. I don't say they're getting crushed. It's just like normalizing as a market, which I don't think is a bad thing for us to see.
Yeah, they're at the middle. They're at the middle blue. So like literally like right at the balanced kind of indicator. There's a couple in here that are not big bubbles, but select pockets that are that kind of darker blue, getting to a different shade. But a lot of them are kind of that middle. Yeah, it's a little bit more balanced, maybe starting to lean towards a buyer's market, but not full blown buyer's market, seller turmoil.
Yeah. And in the areas that we're seeing the hottest market still, we got the San Francisco area, looks like Boise, Idaho, Minneapolis, Milwaukee,
of course,
parts of Michigan, and then sprinkled throughout the Northeast as well too. Kind of like the Maryland, Virginia, Massachusetts, Boston markets. And then we've got still buyer's markets in like Colorado, Utah, Chicago.
We got one suburb greater area there in North Texas that looks like it's hot.
Is that Dallas?
I'm
gonna go with Plano, Texas. But what does this mean for Milwaukee? Because if you look at this map, I mean, you can see Milwaukee is
Dallas.
It's Dallas. Okay. Dallas. Yeah, cool. I thought Dallas was further south. Yeah. But okay. But let's talk about what this means for Milwaukee here. Because if you're looking at an article that says Miami home prices are down 10% and you can spend months and months shopping and look at almost every home for sale, you're hearing the wrong information about what could happen in Milwaukee, right?
Yes, for sure.
Let's run through kind of what Milwaukee looks like here. Because we've got the April data that kind of show us what's happened the last month here in April.
Yeah, it's always good to have like a very quick, like high level overview of what's going on. So the main ones that we always like to track, right? What's going on with sales price. So in April, year over year, this is the 4-county area for all property types, excluding like 5+ unit multifamily. We're seeing the median sales price at 347,000, up 8%, almost 9% versus last year. So that's, I would say, faster than what we've been seeing for like the last 12 months trend, with average sales price actually going up 12% year over year. Months of supply, which is our favorite metric, how many homes are available divided by how many went under contract, and tells us if every single home sold over the next, like, how many homes today gives us how many weeks of supply. We've got 2 months of inventory, which is very similar. Literally, it's been like a flat line chart for the last 5 years there. So those are the two key ones we like to see, is like what's happening with prices, what's going on month of supply, and how fast are they moving. It's still pretty much the exact same thing. Homes are getting accepted on average in less than 3 weeks on the market at 22 days. That's the exact middle point. Most homes are going in 2 weeks or less, probably even 1 week or less.
Yeah. So to kind of summarize this, you're seeing prices are still going up here in Milwaukee.
Prices are still going up about 9.
Days on market is still low.
Still very low.
And
not quite a teenager, but pretty close.
Yeah, like they're drinking their first beer.
Yeah.
And then months of supply is still low. Like, we don't have a lot of inventory available.
Exactly.
Well, let's dive into kind of, because that's the whole Milwaukee area. That's Waukesha, Ozaukee, Milwaukee, and Washington County. Thank you. We've got a couple of submarkets that we want to point out as well too, because it's good to see what's happening across the greater Southeast area. But then I've got a couple of neighborhoods I just want to kind of dive into. And so I'm going to talk about Wauwatosa and West Allis. So I think these are a lot of clients that we work with. It's a lot of the first-time home buyers, or maybe that second home that people are looking to upsize into. And I think these are hyper competitive markets here in Milwaukee. Days on market until sale, 10 days on average. A home goes under contract.
Twice as fast.
That's the average. The price is up 8.4% at $330K. So pretty similar to what we're seeing across the Milwaukee greater area too. Months of supply, 1.2 months of supply. That means if no home got listed today additionally in Tosa or West Allis, all the inventory for sale is going to be under contract in 1.2 months.
Yeah.
Other metrics I like looking at as well too is going to be the percent over asking price.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we're sitting around average about 102%. So homes are selling 2.4% over asking. If we just look at April, last month they sold about 4% over asking, which is kind of right in line with what we see in the winter months. It's kind of right around 99%, 98, 100. And then up into these peak seasons, we're looking at 105, 106, like 5% over, 6% over on average.
Versus here in the Milwaukee greater area, we've got 101% of original list price, or 1% over asking being common. So you're seeing higher above asking offers, everything else, which we always like to ground ourselves in. It's about the market price, not the marketing price.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that use this strategy, especially in these markets, of $299, $349.9. Like, we're going to just find these spots where a ton of buyers are pre-approved at and below. Mm-hmm. And some people who are not actually able to afford the home are seeing that come into their searches, even though the real value is probably 20 to 30,000 higher than that if you look at comparable sales.
1,000%, man. So I think just looking at Tosa and West Allis, the tail of the tape, as we'll call it, is similar to what we talk about every time we get together, but it's hyper competitive. We need to see homes the day they get listed for sale, and there's going to be competition. And this data here just speaks volumes to that as well too.
Yeah, and I think actually it's really crazy in looking at the stat sheet here.
Yeah,
up 9% median sales price. And I don't know if you can even dive into weeds on this. Average sales price up 20% year over year.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Which probably tells me that there's maybe just more expensive homes being sold than a year ago. So that could be potentially a little bit of sign of movement of maybe some of the baby boomers, them maybe starting to think about downsize. We're getting higher price listings actually come to the market.
Yeah, those
are just some quick thoughts. I also brought a market here, kind of like where our home base is, the North Shore, which includes Shorewood, Glendale, Whitefish Bay, Fox Point, Bayside. So kind of like those 5 municipalities lumped together. As we look at this market in comparison, so obviously a much higher median sales price at $500,000, up 2% year over year. And we've seen this in the data that the markets that are $600,000, $700,000 up are where we're seeing the slowness, the
Mm-hmm.
higher days on market, because interest rates have a higher impact. However, days on market sitting pretty much right at the Milwaukee greater average, 20 days on market, so less than 3 weeks still spending on the market, 1.8 months of supply. I feel like a lot of this is definitely a supply issue. I feel like as you look at West Allis and Wauwatosa, that's like a demand caused imbalance. Versus here, I feel like it's a supply caused imbalance, and a lot of times we'll see improvements in this like only in late spring and then going into summer, because of the school districts are a huge driver of
Mm-hmm.
when people plan their moves. So we'll see very big peaks and valleys. But again, to see, here on the average sales price, it bumps up a little bit higher, 672, up 9%. So more or less, these are two big submarkets inside of the greater Milwaukee area, specifically all within Milwaukee County, that we're seeing a lot of movement.
Yeah, and it's interesting comparing these two markets because they're at different price points. Average price point you said here is 505 versus 330. Median price point, 505 versus 330. And it's interesting to see how these play out in terms of what the markets look like, because we've got your typical first-time home buyer market. You've got a more elevated market from a price point. Both still don't have a lot of inventory for sale. Like 1.8 months of supply is still by no means a buyer's market.
Yeah.
This is just a bit more extreme. Looking at Tosa and West Allis, you're still seeing some price growth, moderate price growth versus West Allis and Tosa. You're seeing like,
to be fair, there's like a much like smaller standard deviation of pricing in Wauwatosa, West Allis. Like you see homes between 300 to 500.
True.
Like you've got some outliers. However, in the North Shore, you get 500s and you get 2 million, 3 million.
Yeah.
So like there can even just be, there's only actual, so far this year, only 180 homes sold. So if you actually looked at the year-to-date trend for median sales price, it's up 6% year over year for the last 4 months here. So there's also some outliers and some like reasons why it might not be as fast.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think that's what's actually available out there, because I'll tell you what, if you listed a lot of $600,000 homes in the North Shore, that's kind of like the make it move. It just flies off the market price for this market versus Wauwatosa. I'd say that price point's like 400.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this all mean, man? Like, do you think we're going to see this change? We're seeing national changes and national kind of shifts. What are you seeing here from Milwaukee?
Yeah. Anytime I think of like the main thing that can change would be a black swan thing that impacts demand. It's not ability to get mortgages. It could be unemployment, things that like we just literally don't have control or can really monitor for our area, maybe specifically. The other force, that's their demand side. For the supply side, it's just tracking new listings and the months of supply. For the 4-county area, we're last month down 2% year over year from very suppressed levels of new listings, historically speaking, and more or less flat on the year. The North Shore, same story. Okay, we've got 4 more listings than we had a year ago come to the market, so up 5%. Like go click your heels, but it's flat. So like we're not actually seeing an uptick of inventory coming. And what are we seeing in the Wauwatosa West Allis in terms of new inventory so far year to date?
Yeah, let me pull it up here with all my tabs that I have open. So I mean, new listings are flat. We're up. From year to year, we're up 1.4%.
But the concerning stat line here is it going to get better in the next few months in terms of competition because new inventory is coming? Are reinforcements coming? No, new listings in the month of April down 9%.
Yeah,
year over year
compared to last year. Yeah, we have like the same number of listings year to date. We have fewer listings this April than last April. So it's going to be hard for the market to shift because I don't see demand changing. You're right, unless something happens where everyone's pocketbook is strapped, which could happen. There's talks of maybe a recession. There's tariff chatter. So like it's possible that could happen. But also, even if buyer demand cools down, if listings maintain the way they're going, it's going to be buyer demand would have to just like stop almost, So we've got two things that like I don't see inventory ramping up. I don't see buyer demand going to zero. So I kind of just see this maintaining. I do see though that the Midwest markets, what happens on the coasts happens 6 months to a year before it hits the Midwest. It kind of moves in from either side and we get sandwiched in the middle. And then whatever the effect was on the coasts, we get less of that effect. Dampened effect. I like that. And so I think it's naive to think we won't see some changes in the market, to see the market cool down, to maybe see price increases not go from 8%, but like 1 or 2%,
you
know? I think that's realistic to expect. But I don't see it becoming something where all of a sudden we have 6 months of supply this year.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, that's like let's answer a fear people have is, what if I buy a home today and the price just goes way down next year? So like right now, like we're more or less in a very slow moving national real estate market. If you just take all the data and we're seeing potentially price drops being down 1%. Okay, you buy your home in Wauwatosa. Let's say all of a sudden we go from up 9%, up 8%, and we come down to where everywhere else in the country I'm seeing it's really slow, not as many closings. Okay, so next year you bought today, you bought it for $350,000. Your home's now worth $365,500.
Right.
Are you going to live there for the next 5 to 10 years? Probably. You're probably okay.
Yeah, I think that's like the main thing when I ask clients that have that question. It's like, well, because we don't know what the market's going to do. We like to think we do. We've got like a decent idea of what's going to happen, but like, and it's, if you're planning on only living in a house for 1 or 2 years, my first question is, should you even buy a house in the first place? But also, if you're planning on being in a home for 3+ years, it matters a lot less what happens day to day.
Yeah.
Like you're making a choice for a lifestyle. You're making a choice to own and build equity. And if you're planning on being in your home for 3, 4, 5+ years, the odds are in your favor that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. The psychology I've heard from people that follow the stock markets are, you go like from a psychological approach. It's what would make you more unhappy, not buying today, and then the next few years it continues to go up 5% to 8%, or if it goes down 1 to 3% in the next couple years consecutively, like,
and you own your house
and you own it.
Yeah.
Like, would you own your home and it goes down? What's the worst scenario? Like, what would your reaction? It's essentially like loss aversion. Like, would you be more psychologically damaged because you missed out on something going up, or would you be more psychologically damaged if you bought something and went down? And you essentially have to say like, I'd be more leaning towards this way. Like, you can actually see your mindset. It's like, okay, that's great. If you think that the risk is a little bit too high, chill. But like, if you're like, no, I'd be way more afraid if like I literally can never buy a home because the prices for the next 2 years go up 10% a year, and now that $400,000 home is $520,000.
Yeah.
Like, are you more afraid of a Wauwatosa home being worth $520,000 or buying it at $400,000 and now it's worth $380,000? That's
seriously. It's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, and if you're living in a home, not an investment, like a lot of people probably lean a little bit more towards, well, I'm going to buy something eventually, and let's look at it through that line of thinking.
Yeah.
Well, with all that data, I feel like we got to do something fun.
Let's mix it up, dude. Yeah. So I've been putting you on the hot seat, I've been calling this, does Ty know his markets?
Yeah.
We're going to mix this up a little bit today. Today we're
doing the computer.
Yeah. Today we're doing a blind draft. Okay. All right. We've got 1 through 6. We're doing types of homes. Okay. So I'm going to say the type of home. As I say it, you have to rank this 1 through 6.
And I don't get to hear all the options.
You don't get to know what the options are, what they're coming.
I just have to guess what you're going to give me.
Yep. And so 1 is the best, 6 is the worst.
Seems like even harder than the NFL draft.
We'll see how you stack up,
man. You know who the players are and where they're potentially
going, and Shadir Sanders going 4th round. Don't make that mistake.
Right.
All right, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, 1 through 6. Starting with the first one here, Cape Cod. Where would you put this one?
5.
5. Okay. All right. So we got Cape Cod at 5. Lake House.
Oh man. For me personally, I'm going to say 2.
2. Okay. I like that. Any lake in particular you'd want that on?
I think I like Milwaukee. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Yeah. All right. This one, duplex.
Oh, me personally, I want to say 1, but I'm going to put that at this is my personal ranking?
Yeah, your personal ranking. Just you. Yeah.
I'll put that at 3.
3, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm very excited about duplex.
I thought that was for sure going to be number 1.
Okay, that's a good little curveball. I was not expecting that.
All right, tiny home.
A tiny home. I I don't know what the other options are going to be. I'm just going to go 6 with tiny home.
6 with tiny home.
I don't think
Okay.
that'd work for me.
All right. So you've got 1 and 4 open right now.
Okay.
RV or van living?
Okay, we're gonna go 4.
4. Okay.
I'm
And then
nervous
you
for what's
got
left.
you got bungalow at number 1.
Oh, perfect.
So
Bungalow at number.
very classic Milwaukee to have bungalow number 1.
So we've got bungalow number 1. I love that. I'm a Shorewood guy,
Yeah.
so that's
Bungalow
right
1,
in my alley.
lake house 2,
Yeah.
duplex
Second home.
3,
Yes.
RV van living at 4,
Yeah.
Cape Cod 5. You're not a Cape Cod guy, clearly.
No, I
And
used
then
to. But-
tiny home 6.
Okay, I probably would if I knew the order. I'd switch 4 and 5, but pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take that too. I think I knew everything on here, and so when you started putting some of these,
Yeah, you didn't know.
but
where
no,
it
I
was
think
gonna
your
go.
number 1, 2, 3 look good. I don't know if Kelsey, your wife, would do the whole van living with you, but
Maybe for a week.
you
That's where you rent a van. You don't do.
don't
van
like
life.
live in there
You
forever.
van trips.
Yeah.
Okay, then I've got something fun here for you too. So
Okay.
just another Milwaukee kind of topic of the week. Best outdoor activities in Milwaukee. Parks, trails, lakefront vibes, seasonal fun, all that kind of stuff. What is the best outdoor activity in Milwaukee? You might be biased.
Do you want me to start here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a huge golfer,
Yeah.
as you know, and so I think Milwaukee has some of the. First off, their park system in Milwaukee is unreal. The Milwaukee County Park System, we have so many parks along the lake, trails. Part of that park system is golf.
Yeah.
Because all of the golf courses are on different parks. And
if you look at the map of Milwaukee, this is really cool. They actually planned the park system really, really well. It follows like the parkways or the rivers in like a big loop.
Cool.
So like you can actually like all these little spots and green spaces, each one of them's got a beer garden, were strategically planned to have beer gardens, the German culture kind of stuff. Golf has been now incorporated into it. Obviously, just normal family spots, pavilions for cookouts.
Bike trails,
all planned around essentially the river system.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. That's very cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, the best activity in Milwaukee is golf because I think we have some of the most accessible golf courses. They're affordable. They're good courses too. And so kind of every budget, every playing level, you've got great options. And then you also, for the diehard guys that are willing to spend $250 to $600 around, you've got Kohler, just 45 minutes to an hour north. You've got the Erin Hills, 45 minutes away. So you have anything you want in golf. And I think the Milwaukee summers are some of the best weather to be out there and you're not dying heat. The winters drag on. And so all of a sudden it hits 60 degrees and everyone's outside in shorts and sandals. But for me, it's hands down. I think the golf we have here is exceptional. And I've visited a lot of friends that live in other cities like Los Angeles or Miami or you name it. And it's difficult because of how far you have to go, or even Chicago where I have friends. It's like you have to drive an hour plus. You have to book tee times 2 weeks ahead of time. Just like the convenience that we have is like unmatched. So I'm very biased in this, but I also think it's exceptional what we have here, even in Des Moines. Like I know I'm kind of rambling here on this, but when I go back home to Des Moines, it's like there's 4 golf courses that are kind of decent to choose from. Yeah. They're always booked up. And so by far and above golf. Yeah.
That's awesome.
What you got, man?
Yeah. For me, I mean, I feel like I'd kind of say anything with a beer in hand, which is good for Milwaukee. So like beer garden system, kind of like what I said, we've got Estabrook Park is super close to where we are, but also like, I mean, if I really picked like a location, a thing I love to do, I love being down at Bradford Beach or Atwater Beach, depending on the vibes. Atwater, great for bringing a blanket, maybe having one in a little flask there, because I don't know if you're supposed to have your beverages there, and have a little book out and relax. But Bradford, you've got like 50 volleyball setups there for beach volleyball. You hang out. You've literally got the lake right there. Like it feels like you're at the ocean. So those are my favorite things. Just being outside, beer in hand, just enjoying being close to the lakefront or some sort of water, whether it's tucked away on a river in one of the beer gardens. Yeah, so definitely the best spots. But with that, if you guys got value with some of the stuff we covered today or some of our favorite things about Milwaukee, give us a follow, of course. Let us know that you liked the episode. But other than that, we'll catch you next month on the Milwaukee Real Estate Market Update.
Next week.
Next week.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.